Hello guys and welcome to my channel. My name is Jesper, and on this channel here we are talking about skincare, and we don't use a filter on this channel here. So when you see me here, it is just as if you saw me on the high street. Apart from today, I do not have any sort of a SPF on my face or any sort of a UV filters and stuff like that. That will make my face look a little bit greasy. So the reason I do not have anything on my face today, I don't even have a moisturizer on or anything like that, and that is because we are going to test a sunscreen. We are going to test a new sunscreen, and that is one from Roche-Posay, and they have this sort of a new technology, and they call it UVMUNE 400. The filter they are talking about when they are talking about this sort of technology is a filter that they are calling MEXORYL400, and that is something that only La Roche-Posay they are using. So in this instance here, we are talking about a crème hydratante or a hydrating cream, and what is that normally something that will be sort of greasy, right? Usually when you have something that is a sunscreen, it is very greasy in itself. So if you have something that is a moisturizing sunscreen, you might think it's gonna be really greasy. But of course La Roche-Posay, they have used an ingredient in this product here, and that is silica, and silica that will sort of like stem the tide of greasiness, if you like, to a certain degree. So I have tried this one here. My skin is not a very dry skin, it's not a very oily skin, it's kind of like it works really sort of in between, so kind of like nice, I would say. But I would say if you have a sort of a dry skin, maybe this is something that will be useful for you. But I have tried it on my skin, and I saw how it performed. But I have also seen it on a skin that is more to the dry side, or a sort of a skin that is maybe not dry but a thinner skin than mine. My skin is relatively thick sort of a skin, if you like, and that means that it is oiling itself really well. But on someone that has a more sort of a thin, less oily skin, it works in a different way, and it will not be as shiny as it will be on my skin. So of course this is not something that is meant for oily skin, so that is not a product you should use if you have an oily skin, of course. Now this product here, there is something about the filters that are in here, and you have heard me before talk about something called ethylhexysalicylate, and that is a derivative of salicylic acid, and salicylic acid that has in animal studies been shown to be a hormone disruptor, and that is not something that is really great. But the thing is that usually when you're looking at sunscreens, it is really difficult to avoid that ingredient. And the thing is that I have already spoken to La Roche-Posay, or one of their representatives, or do they call them ambassadors or something like that, and I asked them if they would actually make another product, because this one here is an SPF of 50 plus. But what I would like is something that would be an SPF of 30. So yes, just 30. And I thought that maybe when they are making a product that is with a lower level of SPF, then they could actually make it without ethylhexysalicylate. Because when I look at another product that they have and that I normally use, and you can see I've used it, it is this one here, and that is an SPF of 30, and that does not contain ethylhexysalicylate. But the one that is the SPF of 50, it actually does contain ethylhexysalicylate. So I'm thinking that when they're going a little higher up, they need to put this ethylhexysalicylate into the product in order to get the SPF very up there to being an SPF of 50. So I have tried this one here, and I was actually out walking today because I have tried this product. We can just have it in unboxing. Voila. And you can see it is this usual one that has this pump on it that yeah, it's very easy to handle. So I tried this one here yesterday, and I thought I just put it on my face, and I did not have any sort of creams or stuff on my face. Or in a sense, I would say that when I wake up in the morning, I just kind of like reactivate my skincare, in the sense that I just simply splash a bit of water on my skincare, and then I would be adding a sunscreen. And what I added the other day was this one here. So the thing is that when you are using something like particularly this one here, where they actually say that it's a moisturizing cream, then you would not like to use something underneath, because you would know that it would be really greasy. So in this instance here, I tried it the other day, and I walked out and around and all that sort of thing. And did it annoy my eyes? No, it did not annoy my eyes, because it has this sort of anti-icing technology in it. I will say it does work really well, but it might be that in some of the other products that it might annoy annoy your eyes anyway. But I think if that is something that happens, then it might be because of the perfume that they have put in. But this product here, it does not contain any sort of a perfume, so therefore it should be a really good thing that if you are having some sort of issues with the fragrance and perfume and that sort of a thing. Now this one here, I have tried it several times because I also tried it today, and today I did a little bit of a different thing, and I will just show you a little picture of how it looked when I was out and about. So you see that my skin is maybe not that shiny, even that I am in sunshine. So what I did was actually that I used something called a silica, and that is actually something that I added myself to the product, and it looks like this. But if you are looking at the picture of me and you see that I am out and about, you may be wondering, where was I? Well, I was in the countryside, as you can see, and I'll just show you some pictures of how that looked. It is a really nice area outside here in the Surrey area, and it's called the Poston Lacy. And I was out there, and it was kind of like really nice. But as you can see, I actually, when you see me now, I actually shaved to make this video here. So since you saw the other image, and the reason for that is, of course, that when you are out and about in the countryside, it is really polluted out there, isn't it? Because everywhere you go, like every corner you turn, there is horse dung and cow poo and all that sort of thing. So it kind of like, really, is that really necessary? Apparently it is. I think they call it gold out there. So I just had a clean shave when I came home because I wanted to try this product so you can actually see how it works, and I also show you how I use the silica in order to make it a bit more matte. So silica, that is actually something that a lot of companies they are using, and they are using it in a lot of creams basically, and that is simply to stem the tide of greasiness. Silica can of course be a little bit difficult to work with, and the thing is that if you're using it too much, it will dry up the product too much, and if you are putting a big lump into it very unevenly, it will kind of like make the cream go not well. So that is something that you should be a little bit careful with. And I have shown you in another video how you can do it by putting it on your skin first, like in an even layer, and then you put the sunscreen on top, and thereby you are kind of like making it less greasy. And on top there, you can just very gently powder a little bit of extra silica on top, and then have this sort of a sandwich effect basically, where you're having the sunscreen in between two layers of silica. Now when you're putting something on top of a sunscreen, you should be really careful that you are not taking the sunscreen away. And I have seen pictures where people are using maybe something that they are spraying on top, like a spray or aerosol SPF on top of makeup, and yes, that's a good idea. As such, there can be some issues with the zinc oxide, as we have spoken about before. But another thing that can be rather an issue, and that is that people are simply taking a beauty blender and then they are dabbing it into the skin afterwards. Well, I'm pretty sure that you can very well imagine that maybe there will be a little bit left on the skin, but certainly there will be a lot in the beauty blender as well. So that is really not a great idea to do it like that, and it's not meant to be used like that anyway. So I will just show you how I put this on one side, and then I'll put something on the other side. And on one side we will use the silica, and on the other side we will use no silica, so you can see sort of like the difference, how shiny it will be. But in the first place, we need of course to use this little spoon here. So it is rather a lot of pumps that you need. I think it was 5 or something like that, but let's see. 3, 4, 5. And what you see here is that basically in this one there is 1 milliliter, so I actually need a little bit more. So I'd say that is a 6, and that is still I would be maybe, yeah, I think it's kind of like, okay, it'll be kind of like maybe 1.25 milliliters, and that is actually what we are aiming for. So if I just take half of it, and basically I can just show you, maybe you can see it has a sort of a green yellowish hue or tint, and that is one of the filters that is giving it this sort of color. So if I just take the whole thing out, it is pretty liquidy. Yikes. Let's take a little bit like that. You can just see it's sort of empty. Whoops. No, did it drip? No, it didn't. We take it up like that. And you can kind of like see that we have this sort of amount. And what I will do is I will just take half of it, and put it on one side, so we just have it there. And then maybe that was a little bit much. We'll take that off there. And what I will do now is that I will simply take some of the silica powder that I have here, and then I will dip a clean brush into it, kind of like that. And then I will just gently dust it as if you would be dusting on a cake or something like that. Like that, because again, an even layer on top. And then you just move it around like that, and then you put it on your face. Like that. So we just move this one around first, because when you have put the silica in, you would like to work pretty fast. Like this, and then put it on the eyelid. Now, if you're using the method of just putting the silica on your skin first, like a powder, you should be a little bit careful with your eyes. You don't want it to get into your eyes, because it can actually block some of the glands that you have in the eye, or on the wet line there. So, like that. And now it starts to really actually sink pretty quickly in. Like that, and just take the rest of the stuff here. So this amount here is of course also for the ears and for the neck. So we take some of the stuff down the neck, like that, and then on the forehead here, and then we will be smearing out the other side in a moment. So like that. And it doesn't have any sort of strange smell, very sort of a very faint smell. It doesn't really smell that much. I mean, we have looked at some other creams from La Roche-Posay, and they can be really tough on the nose. So like that. And then we will take, I just take and make sure that I don't have any sort of a silica on my hand. And then we put this stuff around. But I will say it's not something that is kind of like is shining light to high heaven. It's not like that. I mean, sometimes you can have these sunscreens that they are sort of like an oil. It works like a magnifying glass on your skin, so you see every pore really like exaggerated. But this one here, I would say it works more like if you're thinking about a beeswax or something like that, something that is not that see-through and a little bit matte, if you like, compared to something that is very high gloss or very high shine. Now, I would say they say that this is something that should sink in very well and that sort of thing, and it has this sort of micro drop technology that should form a really nice shield on your skin. I would say that it does feel a little bit greasy. I mean, we are not talking about like a Avène sunscreen greasy, which is kind of like a different category, isn't it? It's sort of in that sense, I wouldn't say that this is a very greasy for a sunscreen as such, but I will say it is kind of like when you're putting your finger on it, you can feel it also during the day, but after a couple of hours it does sink in more and more. But the thing is also like still when I go into a shop, I will be using a face mask, and that means that every time I go in, I will maybe take a little bit of the sunscreen off, because it doesn't sink in that well, I would say. So we just distribute a little bit in the forehead here. So maybe if you can see the difference, that it might be a little bit more shiny on this side here. You can maybe see how it shines there, and then you see the difference to this side here, that you can maybe see that it's not so shiny on this side as it is on this side here. Now, another thing is, when you're using silica, is that when you feel on the skin, silica will start to take up the oils and stuff like that, but it will not maybe do that immediately. So what I normally do is that I mix in the silica, and then I let it sit on the skin for a little while. And when it's kind of like be a little bit more like you can touch it without it being really greasy, then I would add a little bit of a finishing powder. So basically I would take a little bit more of the silica here, and I won't go in with a big dot there. I would just take a little, and you can see it dust everywhere. And I would say you should not inhale this sort of stuff here. I mean, this stuff here is in a lot of powders, particularly in the finishing powders, and that is because it looks really, really great when you are filming in 4K and HD and that sort of thing, because it gives a really, really nice sort of filter effect, basically. So we just take a little bit of this stuff here. So I will go in on the forehead. Normally I might wait a little longer than when I'm doing it now here. So that might be maybe 5 minutes or something like that. But you will see that now this starts to come down so that the shine starts to disappear compared to on this side here, where it's kind of like, I would say, really shiny. And you see I just sort of dab it on and hold my breath when I put it over the nose. So kind of like that, because I really don't want to take the sunscreen into the brush here. So just dab it on like that, and you don't want a big lump of this stuff, particularly not if you're going to have your photo taken, because it might be that it will give you this sort of a white cast or flashback if you are taking photography with this stuff on. But usually you would not wear a sunscreen if you are having your photo taken. So this was just the little trick with this silica. And when you look the difference here, you can see that this side here is a lot more matte compared to that side there. And I would say over the day it will become a little bit more and more matte, and will be less and less greasy when you're touching your skin. But this side here, it will just kind of like it will keep being a sort of a greasy, and it felt like a sort of a thick sort of greasiness, and maybe that is that sort of a micro drop technology that they are talking about or something like that. But it's kind of like feels like a little bit of a thin layer of beeswax or something like that. And then I would say it kind of like looks okay when you are having when you see yourself in the mirror and stuff like that, but it's not this sort of a magnifying effect, but it definitely it is still it is shiny. There's no doubt about that. So the only way to make the shine less shiny is to add a little bit more silica, and you could do it in the way that I just showed you. And it's something like this, it will last a really long time and doesn't cost the world. So that is a good thing to do. Now another product that I've just spoke of is this other one here, and that does not contain silica. So in this one here, I would say I use a bit more than you just showed that you saw that I used for this product here. But yes, that is simply, I think this one here is not meant to be used on the face. It's more meant to be kind of like all around. You can use it on your face if you like to, but mainly is it meant to be used on the body. And I would say if you use a lot of silica for something that you're putting on your body, then it might be a little bit difficult to distribute evenly all over your body. So I think that is why this one here does not contain silica. But if you use it for the face, as I do, then you can just add a little bit of silica. But yes, that was my little tip in order to how you can make a nice sunscreen that is not overwhelmingly greasy. And I would say, will I buy this sort of a product here again? Well, as long as they have this one here, I will not be buying this one here, and that is simply because it contains etylhexylsalicylate. So if I can avoid that, I will. But if I can't avoid it, then I would not mind using a product like this, because when you are looking at sunscreens, then etylhexylsalicylate or homosalate and all these sort of derivatives of salicylic acid is in a lot of sunscreen, and it is really difficult to avoid. But of course, there are some other sunscreens out there that are not having these ingredients in them, but it also means that you need to find something that is nice on the skin and all this sort of thing. So yes, again, with a sunscreen, it is not that easy. It might be there are some ingredients that you don't like, but if you were going for something where the ingredients are not in it, then maybe it doesn't work that well on your skin, and there might be some other issues. There might be perfume in it, or there might be something else. So yes, SPF, that is rather a jungle, I would say. But as such, I am not kind of like going, yes, I need a lot more of this stuff here. But of course, great that they have made this sort of a new filter, and yes, it will protect you for the ultra long UVA rays, and yes, that is obviously a good thing. But I think there are other aspects when you're looking at a sunscreen. So at the moment, I am really happy with just using this one here, and I have just ordered another one, and you can see it up here. So yes, my verdict is that I'm not going to buy this one immediately again. So yes, if you'd like to see more of this sort of videos, please subscribe, hit the bell and do all the things you must do in order to be notified when I upload more of this sort of videos. Thank you for watching. See you. Bye.